AITA for walking away when my cheating girlfriend tried to humiliate me at my own party? This happened 4 years ago, but I'm finally ready to tell the whole story. A word of warning. It's long, and it gets intense. 4 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I was 25. I was dating someone I believed was the love of my life. Her name was Elise. We met when she was complaining about her slow MacBook in a coffee shop in San Jose. I helped her fix it. She laughed at my jokes, and 2 weeks later, we were officially a couple. For 8 months, she was perfect, sweet. She supported my app development ideas, always posting about her brilliant tech boyfriend. I felt like the luckiest guy in the world. My best friend, Qley, had been warning me about her for months. "Bro, she's using you," he'd say. "Look at her lifestyle compared to what she earns, it doesn't add up." I defended her. "That's how being an influencer works, man. She has brand deals." I thought Qley was just jealous. He worked in finance, claimed he made $178,000 a year, lived in my same apartment complex in Santa Clara, and was the one who helped me come out of my shell in college. But Elise seemed genuinely interested in me. She always sent good morning texts, was excited to see me, and even talked about us moving in together. Then came my 26th birthday party. I had been planning it for weeks. I rented the building's clubhouse, hired a caterer from Elise's favorite Italian restaurant, and got a DJ. It all cost me about $200, but I wanted it to be perfect. About 35 people showed up, friends from work, college buddies, neighbors, and my cousin who drove down from Sacramento. Elise looked incredible that night in a tight black dress, her hair perfectly styled. She was posting Instagram stories calling it the most amazing celebration for her brilliant boyfriend. I felt on top of the world until 10 p.m. when the music cut out abruptly. I was refilling the ice bucket when the whole room went silent. I came back with the bucket and saw everyone staring at the center of the room, where Elise and Qley were standing, holding hands. "I can't do this anymore," Elise announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. My stomach sank. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She looked at me with a cold expression I had never seen before. "Dating you has been the most exhausting thing I've ever done in my life." The room was dead silent. My cousin looked horrified. My coworkers were looking at their phones, uncomfortable but unable to look away. "You're boring, Asher, cheap, and you have no ambition. And frankly, I'm embarrassed to be seen with you." Each word felt like a physical blow. This was the same girl who told me, "I love you," every morning. "Elise, what's going on?" Then Qley spoke up. "Bro, we didn't want you to find out like this, but we've been seeing each other for 3 months. 3 months. My voice cracked. Elise's eyes glinted with cruelty. "Dating you was a bet, Asher. Qley bet me $500 I couldn't pretend to be attracted to you for 6 months. I made it 8. Honestly, I deserve an award." Murmurs filled the room. Someone gasped, and I heard my friend Finn whisper, "That is so messed up. 8 months pretending to care about your boring coding projects, your pathetic attempts at romance, your complete lack of ambition. Do you know how hard it was to fake interest when you talked about that app idea? Nobody wants your app, Asher. You're never going to be successful." But she wasn't done. "And look at how you live, a 1-bedroom apartment, an old car. You shop at Target. I have followers who make more than you just by posting workout videos. You're 26, and you've already settled for mediocrity." Qley was nodding along. "Bro, I warned you she was out of your league, but you wouldn't listen. Elise deserves someone who can actually provide for her. And that someone is you." I asked, looking at my best friend who, I suspected, made less than I did. Elise laughed. "Qley understands my value. He's already talking about moving to San Francisco, taking me to Europe. He doesn't just settle for dreaming about success." It was then that something clicked. It wasn't anger, but a cold clarity. I looked at all those people witnessing my humiliation and realized something important. Their opinions didn't matter. Elise and Qley had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. "Well," I said, my voice surprisingly steady, "I wish you two all the happiness in the world." Everyone looked at me like I had lost my mind. Elise's confident expression faltered. "That's it," she said. "You're not going to fight for me." "Fight for you?" For someone who just said loving me was a form of paid torture for $500. Qley looked confused, as if he expected me to throw a punch. "That's it," I confirmed. "You two deserve each other." I turned to the others. "Please, continue enjoying the party. The food is paid for." The music is ready. I'm just going to get some air. I grabbed my jacket, got in my car, and drove to a 24-hour diner. I spent 4 hours processing what happened over coffee and pie. You might think I was weak for not fighting, but believe me, I had a plan. Sometimes, the best revenge is patience, and sometimes you win by letting your enemies think they've already won. I had $320,000 in savings, a stable job, and an app idea that Elise had just motivated me to develop out of pure spite. Cole and Elise had no idea what they had just unleashed. The next morning, I woke up with more clarity than I'd had in months. Cole hadn't come home. He probably went to Elise's overpriced apartment. I sat down at my computer and did something I had been putting off. I got serious about my app idea. Elise wasn't wrong that I mostly just talked. I had been working on a fitness tracking app for months, but only as a hobby. Her public humiliation stung because there was a sliver of truth to it. But sometimes, people need the right motivation to stop messing around and build something real. I called in sick to work and spent 16 straight hours coding. By the end of the week, I had a working prototype. By the end of the month, I had invested $50,000 and hired 2 freelance developers. The app was called Fit Tracker Pro, a comprehensive fitness and nutrition tracker with AI-driven recommendations. It wasn't revolutionary, but it filled a gap in the market, and I executed it well. I also started digging into Cole and Elise. Here's what I found. Cole was drowning in debt. His finance job was actually glorified data entry with a $62,000 salary, not the $178,000 he claimed, and he was living way beyond his means. Maxed out credit cards, behind on student loans, no savings, all to impress Elise. Elise was worse. Her influencer career generated maybe $800 a month. She was getting money from several men, telling each one she was on the verge of commitment but needed financial support. Her parents were co-signers on her lease, and she resold designer items after wearing them once for photos. When Cole became her boyfriend, he also became her primary ATM. In 2 weeks, he had spent over $3,000 on dinners, jewelry, and a weekend trip to Los Angeles that Elise posted about constantly. Meanwhile, my app was starting to take off. I launched a beta version with 2,000 users in the first month, thanks to Reddit and word of mouth. It wasn't huge, but it proved the concept worked. Then, I made my first move. I contacted Elise's parents, kind people I had met during our relationship. Her father worked in construction, and her mother was a teacher. I casually mentioned that I was worried about Elise's financial situation and that she had been asking friends for money. Her father called her the next day. Within a week, her parents cut her off from rent money and demanded her bank statements. They discovered $347 in her checking account, $23,000 in credit card debt, and they freaked out. The ultimatum: move back to Fresno and get a real job, or support herself. Elise chose option 3, squeeze Cole even harder. Cole, for his part, was busy showing off his incredible girlfriend, posting pictures of expensive dates and trips. But privately, he was panicking. Cards maxed out, bank account in the red, and Elise demanding more expensive gestures to prove his love. I found out he had asked his parents for a $10,000 loan for business expenses. When they refused, he started looking for personal loans with predatory interest rates. Meanwhile, I went all in on the business. I invested another $80,000, hired a formal development team, registered the LLC, and leased an office. I was burning through cash, but I had a plan. My app grew to 10,000 users, generating $1,200 a month. I started attending founder meetups, tech conferences, and building a reputation as a serious player. Cole and Elise's relationship was crumbling. Elise had quit her career to focus on being Cole's girlfriend, assuming he would support her indefinitely. Cole was running out of money, trying to sustain the lifestyle she demanded. They argued constantly. Elise posted passive-aggressive stories about men who don't value their women. Cole was stress-eating due to the financial strain. The breaking point came 3 months after the birthday party. Cole planned a lavish Napa weekend for their 3-month anniversary, a $400 a night hotel, a Michelin star restaurant, wine tasting. Total cost, $1,800, borrowed from a lender at 28% interest. The weekend was a disaster. Elise complained about everything. The hotel wasn't nice enough. The restaurant was trying too hard. The tasting was boring. She posted stories with veiled comments about cheap dates. When they got back, Cole was financially and emotionally shattered. He had borrowed nearly $15,000 in 3 months trying to keep her happy, and she was still dissatisfied. That's when he made the fatal mistake. He asked me for money. "Bro, I know things are weird between us, but I'm in a tough spot financially," he said. "Could you lend me $5,000? I'll pay you back when my bonus comes in." Cole's company didn't give bonuses to data entry employees. "What do you need it for?" I asked innocently. "Unexpected expenses, car repairs, you know." I had seen his Instagram. I knew those expenses were Elise's appetite for expensive things. $5,000 is a lot of money, Cole. "Are you sure you're financially stable?" "Yeah, man. Everything's fine. Just a temporary cash flow problem." "Perfect." Cole was so desperate he was lying to my face. "Let me think about it," I told him. "Can we meet up tomorrow?" We met at a coffee shop downtown. Cole looked terrible, stressed, tired. He had clearly gained about 15 pounds. He was wearing a cheap, wrinkled shirt. "What's really going on?" I asked. Cole completely broke down. He was $23,000 in debt between credit cards and personal loans. His minimum payments were over $800 a month, and he was eating ramen noodles because he couldn't afford food after financing Elise's lifestyle. "She doesn't know how bad it is," he admitted. "I've been paying for everything on cards, so she thinks I'm fine. But bro, I'm drowning. Why don't you spend less on her?" I asked. Cole looked at me as if I'd suggested he cut off an arm. "She's high maintenance. She's used to a certain lifestyle. If I can't give that to her, she'll leave me." I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "What about Elise contributing financially? She's focused on growing her brand. She can't get a normal job. It would hurt her image. Her brand that made $800 a month." "Look," I replied, "I'll lend you the money, but I need to see your full financial picture first. Bank statements, credit reports, everything. I'm not just handing over $5,000 without knowing you can pay it back." Cole was so desperate he agreed immediately. His real records were worse than I imagined. $247 in his account, $31,000 in total debt, a credit score of 584, one missed payment away from total ruin. I lent him the $5,000 with a formal contract, 8% annual interest, a 12-month repayment plan, all legal and documented. I included a clause stating that if he missed a single payment, the full amount would become due immediately. Cole was so grateful he nearly cried. "Bro, you're saving my life. I know we had that thing with Elise, but you're a true friend." I smiled and shook his hand. The $5,000 bought him exactly 3 weeks. Elise immediately planned another expensive weekend. San Diego, Hotel del Coronado, $500 a night, fancy restaurants, a spa day. Cole couldn't refuse without admitting he was broke. While they were blowing my money in San Diego, I executed the next phase. My app had hit 25,000 users, generating $4,800 a month. More importantly, a venture capital firm approached me about investing. Fit Tracker Pro was competitive, but it had found a niche with its AI nutrition recommendations and wearable device integration, with strong engagement metrics and 15% month-over-month growth. They offered me $180,000 for a 25% stake. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to scale properly. I accepted and immediately hired 2 more developers, a designer, and a marketing consultant. I leased an office downtown, got proper insurance, the works. Within 6 weeks, we launched Fit Tracker Pro 2.0 with major upgrades and better monetization. The user base exploded to 75,000. Monthly revenue jumped to $18,000. Tech blogs started interviewing me. TechCrunch wrote about us as a promising startup. My LinkedIn was flooded with connection requests from entrepreneurs. Elise saw it all on social media. I carefully posted updates on my achievements, pictures of the new office, positive user reviews, casual mentions of investor meetings. Nothing flashy, but enough to make it clear my stupid app idea was turning into a real business. Meanwhile, Cole was sinking. The $5,000 bought him 3 weeks, but Elise's spending didn't stop. Seeing my success made her even more demanding. She made comments about how Cole needed to level up and invest more in their relationship. She didn't know Cole was taking out payday loans to buy her jewelry. The breaking point came 6 weeks after the loan. Elise saw the TechCrunch article and completely lost her mind. She called Qley in tears, saying she had made a terrible mistake and demanding he do something to get me back. She wanted Qley to convince me to give her another chance. The audacity was unbelievable. After publicly humiliating me for $500 and calling me a failure in front of 35 people, now that my stupid app was worth hundreds of thousands, she wanted back in. Qley, being the weak man he was, agreed to approach me. That's when I sprung the trap. Qley called me on a Tuesday afternoon, his voice shaking. "Hey, can we meet up? Elise wants to talk about something." "Sure. What about?" "She feels really bad about how things ended. She wants to apologize and maybe talk about possibilities." Possibilities? The nerve. We met at the same coffee shop where Qley had begged me for money. This time, Elise came too. She looked different, still attractive, but with a desperate look in her eyes. The same designer handbag from months ago. She probably couldn't afford a new one. "Asher," she said sweetly, "I owe you a huge apology." I just stared at her in silence. I was going through a confusing time, and I made some terrible decisions. What I did to you on your birthday was unforgivable. Qley and I have been talking, and we realized we made a huge mistake. You're clearly doing amazing things with your business, and I miss what we had. Qley was nodding like a bobblehead. Bro, I feel terrible about everything. We were in a bad place. Elise leaned forward, giving me a view that 8 months ago would have driven me wild. Now it just made me sick. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm hoping maybe we can start over. I could help you with your business. I have social media experience. I could promote your app to my followers. Her 47,000 followers that earned her $800 a month? Interesting. And what about you? I asked Qley. Elise waved her hand dismissively. That was a mistake. We realized we're better off as friends. I was just confused after our breakup and made some bad choices. Qley looked like he'd been gut-punched, but he stayed silent. Elise had already informed him he was being demoted now that she'd seen my success. "So, you want to get back together with me?" I asked. "I'm hoping we can start as friends and see where it goes. I promise it will be different. I've grown up, and I understand now how special what we had was." I pretended to consider it. "Let me think about it. Give me a week." Elise's face lit up. "Of course. Take all the time you need." As soon as they left, I executed the final phase. First, I called the predatory lender Qley had used for the Napa trip. I told them I was a concerned friend who had noticed Qley was struggling financially and that they should know he had recently left his job. It was a lie, but impossible to verify without contacting him directly. Lenders like that get nervous when they suspect a borrower has lost their income. They started calling him daily, demanding employment verification and threatening to accelerate his payments. Second, my lawyer sent Qley a formal notice that his $5,000 payment was past due. It wasn't, really, but the contract had ambiguous language about the dates that gave me wiggle room. Qley panicked and called immediately. "Bro, I thought the payment wasn't due until next month." "Check section 4.2. I said. "It clearly states payments are due on the 15th following the 30-day grace period. Today is the 18th. It was legal jargon that could be interpreted multiple ways, but Qley didn't have a clue. "I don't have the money right now. Can you give me another week?" "Qley, this is a legal contract. I can't just change the terms for convenience. Please, bro. I'm already behind on my cards. If you call this in, I'll have to declare bankruptcy." Music to my ears. I'll tell you what. Elise asked me to consider giving her another chance. Maybe, if she's really willing to come back, we can work something out with your situation. I was now tying his financial survival to Elise's willingness to humiliate herself. Third, I started posting more aggressively about the business's success. Photos with potential acquisition partners, networking events, screenshots showing impressive user growth. Casual mentions of the challenges of scaling and exciting opportunities. My app was actually doing well. 120,000 users and $31,000 in monthly revenue. Several companies had approached me with acquisition offers in the $2 to $3 million range. Elise was liking every single post within minutes. A week later, Elise called me directly. "Asher, I've been thinking about our conversation, and I really want to make this work. What would it take for you to give me another chance?" "I'm not sure, Elise. You hurt me badly. The public humiliation, the bet, all of it. I need some serious proof that you've changed." "I'll do anything," she said immediately. "Anything?" "Yes, absolutely anything. That's when I made my first demand. I want a public Instagram post apologizing for how you treated me and admitting you were wrong about my business potential. Silence. A public post? Elise, you humiliated me in front of 35 people. The least you can do is make it right publicly, unless you're not really sorry. No, I am sorry. I'll make the post. 2 hours later, Elise posted a long Instagram story apologizing to me by name, admitting she had been immature and materialistic, and praising my business's success. She tagged me and encouraged her followers to download Fit Tracker Pro. It got over 500 comments, most of them calling her fake and opportunistic. Several followers sent me private messages asking for the story. I gave them a carefully edited version that favored me and painted her as a gold-digging opportunist. But that was just the beginning. After Elise's public apology, I let her think she was making progress. I started responding to her texts, agreed to casual coffees, and even let her help with basic social media posts. But I was systematically destroying both their lives. With Qley, I increased the financial pressure. My lawyers sent increasingly aggressive letters about the loan, threatening legal action for wage garnishment and asset seizure. I also anonymously tipped off his employer about his financial troubles, suggesting they review his access to company systems. They didn't fire him, but they revoked his access to sensitive data and passed him over for an expected promotion. His monthly income dropped by $400. Meanwhile, I played psychological games with Elise that would have made Machiavelli proud. I took her on dates to places that reminded her of what she'd given up, the same Italian restaurant from my birthday party catering. I mentioned how much I'd spent and how disappointing that night was. I made casual comments about business success, framing them as things that could have been ours if she hadn't been materialistic. It's ironic, I'd say. If we'd stayed together, you'd be flying to conferences with me right now instead of struggling with rent. I introduced her to successful entrepreneurs at networking events, telling them she was my ex who's trying to make amends. She had to smile while people looked at her with judgment. The manipulation worked perfectly. Elise became increasingly desperate to prove herself, agreeing to more and more humiliating requests. I made her delete every photo with Qley from her Instagram, post promotions for the app several times a week, and even write a long Facebook post about how true success comes from dating someone with ambition. Basically a public confession of her materialistic shallowness. But the cruelest part was dangling hope. I'm starting to think we could really make this work, I told her after 6 weeks of our fake reconciliation. But there's one thing that still bothers me. What is it? She asked eagerly. Qley, the fact that you were with him right after humiliating me makes me think maybe you only settled for me because your first choice didn't work out. Elise paled. That's not true at all. Qley was a mistake, a huge mistake. I believe you, but I need to see that you're really, completely done with him. Completely. What do you mean? I need you to tell him, in front of me, exactly what you told me. That being with him was a mistake, that you only used him to make me jealous, and that you never had real feelings. Elise hesitated. That seems cruel. Elise, you humiliated me in front of 35 people. You can be honest with one person in my presence. She agreed. I set up a dinner at a downtown restaurant. Qley showed up thinking it was a friendly dinner to put the past behind them. The poor guy was wearing his best shirt and had gotten a haircut. Qley, Elise said, uncomfortable but determined. I need to tell you something. Qley smiled expectantly. Being with you was a mistake. I only used you to make Asher jealous because I was hurt and confused. I never had real feelings for you. The look on Qley's face was devastating. You could watch the heartbreak happen in real time. What? He whispered. I'm sorry, but I needed to be honest. Asher and I are trying to fix things, and I can't move forward with lies. Qley looked at me with utter betrayal. You're okay with this? His eyes seemed to say. She's playing both of us. Actually, Qley, I said calmly, she's being more honest than ever. And speaking of honesty, when are you going to pay me back that $5,000? I told you I need more time. It's been 3 months. The original agreement was 12 monthly payments of $450. You haven't made a single payment. You said we could work something out. I said maybe, if Elise was truly willing to make amends. But now I'm wondering if I should just let my lawyer handle collections. Qley's face went white. He couldn't afford a legal battle. Please, bro, I'll figure it out. Just give me 1 more month. I pretended to consider it. 2 weeks to get the full $5,000 together. If you can't pay it all, I'll settle for $3,000 and we'll call it even. A complete lie. I had no intention of settling. I just wanted to give him hope before I crushed it. Cole left, defeated. Elise was practically glowing, thinking she had passed some test. Was that okay? She asked me. I feel bad for hurting Cole, but I want us to work. You did great. I'm really starting to believe you've changed. For the next 2 weeks, I continued the psychological torture for both of them. For Cole, I made sure he saw how well my business was doing. I posted pictures of my new Tesla Model S, bought with company revenue, of my upgraded apartment in San Francisco, of meetings with potential buyers. Everything he couldn't afford and never would. With Elise, I kept her jumping through increasingly elaborate hoops to prove her commitment. I made her volunteer at a homeless shelter to prove she wasn't materialistic. I made her get a part-time job at a coffee shop to prove her willingness to work. I even made her go back to school to improve herself intellectually. Elise was paying for all of this on her own. Unpaid volunteer work, an $11 an hour coffee shop job, and $2,400 college courses she couldn't afford. She was destroying her finances trying to impress me, just like Cole had done to keep her happy. 2 weeks after the restaurant confrontation, Cole called me, completely desperate. Asher, I don't have the money. I've tried everything. Personal loans, asking family. I even thought about selling my car. I can't get $3,000 together. That's disappointing, Cole. I really thought you'd find a way. Please, bro, I'll do anything. I'll work for you for free. I'll sign over the title to my car as collateral, whatever it takes. That gave me an idea for the final phase. Actually, there is something you could do, but you're not going to like it. What is it? I want a full, written confession about the bet you and Elise made. Everything. How you planned it, how long it went on, what you said about me behind my back, all of it. And I want copies sent to everyone who was at my birthday party. Dead silence. Asher, that would destroy my reputation. People already think I'm a horrible person for what happened. Cole, you are. But if you write the confession and send it, I'll forgive the entire loan. $5,000 for telling the truth about what you did. And if I don't, lawsuit, tomorrow morning. Wage garnishment, ruined credit, and the confession will come out anyway when I subpoena your text messages and social media. Cole was cornered. 3 days later, I received a 1,000-word confession, more damning than I could have hoped. It detailed how he had convinced Elise that I was beneath her and she should aim higher, that the $500 bet was just the beginning. They had made multiple bets on how far they could push me before I broke. How they laughed at my pathetic romantic gestures and business dreams. How Elise fed Cole information about my insecurities so he could exploit them, and how they had planned the birthday party humiliation specifically to do the most damage to my reputation. Cole sent copies to all 35 party attendees along with a formal apology. The response was immediate and brutal. Cole was completely ostracized from our friend group. Several people posted the confession on social media with comments about what terrible people they were. His employer somehow found out. Perhaps I anonymously forwarded it to HR, and he was fired for unprofessional conduct. But I wasn't done with Elise yet. After the confession went public, Elise called me in a panic. Asher, what did you make Cole do? My phone is blowing up. My parents saw the confession on Facebook. My followers are tearing me apart in the comments. I didn't make him do anything. I gave him a choice between telling the truth or facing legal consequences for stiffing me. He chose the truth. This is going to ruin my life. Elise, your life was already ruined. You're $31,000 in debt. You make $800 a month on Instagram, and you've been scamming men for rent money. The confession just made it public. Silence. How do you know about my debts? I know everything, Elise. I know your parents cut you off. I know you've been taking money from 3 different men by promising them a relationship. I know you can't afford your apartment and you're about to be evicted. You've been investigating me? I've been protecting myself. Did you really think I'd be foolish enough to take you back without knowing who you really are? Elise started to cry. What do you want from me? I want you to understand something. You called me a failure in front of 35 people. You said I'd never amount to anything, that my dreams were pathetic, that you were embarrassed to be seen with me. I was angry and hurt. You were a self-interested opportunist who sold out an 8-month relationship for $500. But you know what, Elise? While you were playing games and destroying relationships, I was building something real. I paused. My company is now worth $2.8 million. I'm about to close a deal with Apple to integrate Fit Tracker Pro into their health ecosystem. The contract is worth $4.2 million over 3 years. Absolute silence. I drive a Tesla. I live in a penthouse in Soma. I have more money in my checking account right now than you'll make in the next 5 years. Asher, please. I'm not finished. Remember when you said I was cheap and had no ambition? Last week, I spent $12,000 on a weekend trip to Dubai. That's more than you made in the entire last year from your influencer career. I could hear her sobbing. And the best part is, none of this success has anything to do with you. You didn't inspire me. You didn't support me. You contributed nothing, except the motivation to prove you wrong. I succeeded in spite of you, not because of you. What do you want me to do? She whispered. I want you to disappear completely from my life. Delete my number. Unfollow me on social media. Never contact me again. If I see you at an event or a conference, you turn around and walk away. And if you don't, I will publish the rest of what I know about your cash for promises scheme. I have screenshots of your conversations with all 3 of the guys you've been stringing along. I'm sure they'd love to meet each other. Elise hung up without another word. 6 months later, my company was acquired by a major fitness tech company for $8.7 million. I walked away with $6.1 million after taxes and investor payouts. I moved into a $2.3 million penthouse in Pacific Heights, bought a Porsche 911 Turbo S, and started angel investing in tech startups. The San Francisco Business Journal put me on their cover as one of the city's top entrepreneurs under 30. Qley never recovered from the financial and reputational damage. He filed for bankruptcy, moved back in with his parents in Stockton, and got a job at a call center making $13 an hour. His social media presence vanished, and mutual friends said he became a complete recluse. Elise's follower count dropped to 12,000 after the confession scandal. Her influencer career was over. She moved back to Fresno, got a job at Target, and, from what I heard through the grapevine, was living with her parents trying to pay off her massive debt. The last time I saw Elise was 2 years after my revenge. I was having dinner at an expensive San Francisco restaurant with a potential business partner when I saw her working as a waitress. She looked older, tired, defeated. When she saw me, her face went completely pale. She tried to avoid my table, but her manager forced her to take our order. "Good evening. Welcome to," she started to say. Her voice trailed off when she realized she would have to interact with me. "Elise," I said kindly, "how have you been?" "Fine," she whispered without making eye contact. "Glad to hear it. I'll have the Wagyu steak, medium rare, and a bottle of the 2015 Opus 1 Cabernet." The steak was $180. The wine was $240, more than Elise made in a week. She took our order with trembling hands and disappeared. 20 minutes later, a different waiter brought our food. Elise had apparently asked her manager to let someone else handle our table. When I paid the bill, I left a $500 tip, not out of kindness, but to make sure Elise understood exactly how much money I was effortlessly spending. That was 2 years ago. I didn't see either of them again until last month. It was with great amusement that I received a LinkedIn message from Qley. "Hey Asher, I know we haven't spoken in years and I have no right to reach out, but I'm hoping you might be willing to help me with something. I've been trying to put my life back together and I saw you're doing incredibly well in the startup world. I have a business idea I've been working on and I was wondering if you might be interested in hearing it or maybe giving me some advice. I know I don't deserve your help after everything that happened, but I'm really desperate. Please let me know if you'd be willing to talk." The message was pathetic, desperate, exactly what I had been waiting for 4 years. You see, Qley used to be my best friend. We'd known each other since college. We were roommates. After graduation, we talked about starting businesses together. Then he met Elise, an aspiring Instagram influencer with expensive tastes and the personality of a parking meter. She was beautiful in that exhausting, high-maintenance way that makes smart men stupid. What I didn't know was that Elise had made a bet with her friends, $500 that she could get the ugly one, me, to fall in love with her and then humiliate me spectacularly at a public event. Qley helped her plan the whole thing. My supposed best friend convinced her I was really into her, helped her learn my interests to fake compatibility, and even coached her on what to say to keep me hooked. The grand finale was at my 30th birthday party. Elise stood up in front of 35 people and announced that dating me had been a form of torture she endured for money, that I was an embarrassment and a pathetic loser with no ambition or character, and that I would never amount to anything. Qley recorded the whole thing. Everyone laughed. But humiliation does one of two things. It either breaks you or it fuels you. Some people crumble, others get motivated. I chose the latter. I didn't respond to Qley's message right away. I waited 2 weeks, just long enough for him to be compulsively checking LinkedIn, then sent back, "I've been pretty busy lately, but I might have 30 minutes next week. What's the business idea about?" His reply came in under an hour. "Desperate people don't play hard to get. It's a financial planning app for people recovering from bankruptcy and bad credit. I've been working on it for 6 months and have a basic prototype. I think there's a real market for it, since I've been through the process myself. Would you be willing to meet in person to discuss it?" A financial app built by a guy who ruined his credit chasing a gold digger and ended up bankrupt when she left him for someone with deeper pockets. The irony was delicious. I agreed to meet at a Starbucks in downtown San Jose. Neutral territory, public place, easy to walk out of if I got bored watching him squirm. Qley was the embodiment of karma. He had lost at least 40 pounds, and not in a healthy way. He was gaunt, with sunken cheeks, the look of a man surviving on ramen and false hope. His cheap, ill-fitting clothes screamed Target clearance rack. His once thick hair was now gray and thinning, making him look older than his 34 years. He was the picture of a man who had spent 4 years in dead-end customer service jobs, living in his childhood bedroom while his parents asked when he was going to get his life together. "Asher, man, thank you so much for meeting me," he said, nearly jumping out of his chair to shake my hand. "You look amazing. I've been following your success in TechCrunch." I was wearing a $2,800 Tom Ford suit and a $15,000 Rolex Submariner that glinted every time I moved my hand. My Tesla Model S Plaid was parked right in front of the cafe, where he couldn't miss it. I chose that spot on purpose. "Thanks. So, tell me about your app idea," I said. Qley pulled out a battered laptop held together with electrical tape and walked me through his prototype. It wasn't actually terrible, basic but functional, with useful features for people rebuilding credit and managing debt. The problem was everything else about the business. No market research, no competitive analysis, no monetization strategy beyond hope and prayers. I let him pitch for 20 minutes, watching him get more and more animated as he mistook my silence for interest. When he finished, I asked the obvious questions any investor would and watched him fall apart with each one. "What's your competitive advantage over Mint, Credit Karma, or you need a budget?" "Well, I understand the target market because I've lived it personally." "So your selling point is that you failed at basic financial management." That's not how I would put it." "How would you put it, Qley?" "Because from where I'm sitting, you look like someone who made terrible decisions, lost everything, and now wants other people to trust him with their money." His face went through several shades of red. "Asher, I know I made mistakes, but they were mistakes," Qley stammered. "Mistakes, Qley," I cut him off. "You didn't make mistakes. You made deliberate choices. You chose to help humiliate your best friend for fun. You chose to chase someone who was clearly using you. You chose to max out credit cards trying to maintain her lifestyle. Those weren't mistakes, they were character reveals." The conversation went downhill from there. By the end, Qley was practically begging, asking if I could just forgive him and maybe make a few introductions to investors for him. I looked at this broken man, my former best friend, who traded our friendship for a shot with a woman who dropped him the second his credit cards started getting declined, and I realized something profound. Revenge isn't about settling scores. It's about getting so far ahead that your enemies become cautionary tales you remember every once in a while, when you need a good laugh. I stood up, dropped a $100 bill on the table for his coffee, and said, "Qley, I want you to know that helping to humiliate me was the best thing you ever did for me. It taught me exactly who I could trust, and it motivated me to build a life so successful that I would never have to rely on people like you again. Asher, please, give Elise my best when you see her at Target," I said. I walked out of that Starbucks and drove home to my $3.2 million house in Los Altos Hills, where I poured myself a glass of wine that cost more than Qley's monthly salary and never thought about him again. Sometimes, the best revenge is living well. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.